can taste your words. I can taste your.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vonanise, plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food
and simple ways to stay healthy in this crazy world.
Hey guys! So on today's episode of the Easy Answer Podcast, we talk Thanksgiving. Can we believe that it's already that time of year? But we're going to do Friendsgiving this year. What is Friendsgiving? It means we bring a bunch of cool people around a table who are going to share their dishes, and we're going to work on finding plant-based adjacent recipes for them. Vaughn, are you excited about this upcoming holiday season?
I mean, I'm always excited about the holidays because my whole family gets together. This is the first, I'm trying to be non-dairy for the whole holiday season. You know? And so that presents its own set of challenges, you know. But I think that with the world that we live in, we can do it. You know, there's a lot of great alternatives.
Got it. I agree. I think that now, like I've been saying in like every cooking demo that I've had this season, this is the time, like you are in a great place to be plant-based right now. Like the market really supports exploring this lifestyle because the corporations have realized that there's money in this market. And so everybody's coming to the table with a plant-based alternative. And so now is a really cool time to explore it.
I would say that for me, plant-based means no cheese, no milk, but it definitely does not mean no eggs because I eat eggs. And to me, that's not dairy.
So no, you can't redefine plant-based. You can currently expand plant-based adjacent. I'll allow you to do that. So you can say that eggs are part of a plant-based adjacent.
But I can't. You say I have to. You say that okay, fine. You're right. I guess I can't say I'm plant-based with I eat eggs occasionally. All right. But that's why I said plant-based adjacent, right?
Yes.
But for me, non-dairy, I don't consider eggs dairy.
Yeah, and I mean there's arguments. There've been arguments for the last 4 decades to say that. So that's cool.
Yes, and so it's no cheese, no milk, no butter. Especially since vegan butter is so good, like there's no need for regular butter. There's no butter without, and maybe an egg, maybe a quiche with some vegan cheese.
Got it. Cool. Well, speaking of eggs, quiche. Those things are really visually, at least quiche. I don't know about eggs. Eggs are up for debate. But quiche is a really pretty dish, right? And the one thing when you're trying to introduce your family or anybody to the idea of plant-based living, it's all about the presentation. And good presentation, especially around the holidays, starts with a table. We set the table, the beauty of the table, and then we add the food to it. So, all right. So we're going to welcome Rhonda James to the Easy Answer Podcast to share with us some simple ways to set a beautiful table.
Hi, ladies. Hi.
Easy Answer Podcast. So tell us a little bit about you and your company.
So I own and operate E218 Events Manager. We're based here in the Bronx, New York. I started this company with my daughter almost 4 years ago, and we do all kinds of events. We do social events, we do corporate events. We currently manage one indoor space, one event space, and we're looking to expand into Westchester County very, very shortly. And I love Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yes.
Now, what is it about Thanksgiving that you love?
I love to cook, and it's always been that time of the year where I can just go crazy. And I cook for days, and my family just gets out of my way. And my mom used to try to buy food because she thought that it was too much. It was just too much of a hassle, because for her it was a hassle. But for me, I love to do it. And eventually she caught on, and she would just buy all of this food, and I would cook all week, and then we'd all just sit down and eat until nobody could move.
You bring up a good point because Brandon's like that too. When I go to her house, I'm always like, she's always like, what do you want to eat? And I'm always like, I don't want to put you to work. She's like, this is not work for me, you know? So for some people, cooking is work, and for others, it's not. So I think that we should let the people who love to cook take the lead, you know? And the rest of us
Exactly.
just offer to help where we can, you know, because everyone
Exactly.
needs a little assistance.
Yeah, because I hate washing dishes.
Same. Great. So guys, Rhonda prepared some nice table, so some table inspiration. So Rhonda, I'm gonna just put up your inspiration and you can just talk through it and help us give us some tips on how to set a beautiful simple table.
Wonderful. So it doesn't take a lot to do a really simple table scape for Thanksgiving, and it doesn't take 10 tons of fancy platters and trays. You can keep it, you can create something that's very, very beautiful, that's really, really easy to do. And I got a couple of different ideas to share with you today. Go on to the next slide. So one of the things that works really well is keep your table settings simple, right? The food is really the entree, the star of the table. So keep it simple. And so here we've got just some pumpkins and a table runner. And then the other picture is really just some fresh vegetables and some greenery. Like if you've got some leftover greenery when you're making a salad or your collard greens or your kale, just spread it out on the table and add some artichokes to it, some eggplants, maybe some squash, pears and apples. Just put your food right on the table as part of your tablescape. Go ahead. Or you can be a little bit more dramatic and create a theme based on a color. These two are color-based themes. The one on the left, which is in the blue, matches the tableware. And this is so beautiful. It's so elegant. It's a little less traditional in the coloring that you think about for Thanksgiving and harvest time. But I just love what they did, and they coordinated it with blue flatware, blue and gold flatware. And definitely the pumpkins that are setting the table take a little bit of effort to kind of decorate. But if you're crafty, you can start working on it earlier in the season, and by Thanksgiving, you've got this beautiful blue and white table. Or you can just get some beautiful gold spray paint and have at it with some pumpkins, some gourds. Squash also does really, really good spray painted, and make something that's even more simple. You can do this in white, you can do this in orange. You can really just let your imagination and your creativity run wild. This is another favorite of mine. Use what you have. So many times we would go to holiday dinners and there would just be tons of those aluminum trays. I hate those aluminum trays. Pull out the bowls, pull out the platters, pull out grandma's pretty, whatever she has, beautiful casserole dish, and transfer the food into it. It just makes it more beautiful. It makes it more engaging to sit at a table that's not covered in aluminum pans. And candles are also a really inexpensive addition to any kind of tablescape, and you can get them. You can get pillar candles, as in these photos, or you can get tapers, and they're really, really simple to incorporate in what it is that you're doing, and they make a really pretty statement on your holiday table. And then my last thought is set a special place for the kids. Usually Thanksgiving is a time when family comes together and joins together. And so having a special place for the kids where they can kind of play and enjoy and interact with one another. And these are really inexpensive, really cute little ideas around creating tables that are just for the kids. And you can throw some crayons on there, some markers, some Lego characters, and just make it fun for them.
Like, they were really simple and great ideas. So thanks so much, Rhonda, for helping us to find ways to set the table, which is
Yes, and
biting way to do that.
share pictures of your tablescapes. Thanksgiving.
I love that idea. Now, guys, this would not be like Thanksgiving isn't Thanksgiving without people like to actually enjoy the dinner with, right? So usually on the Easy Answer podcast, we have one guest that we bring in, but for Friendsgiving, we are bringing back two guests from before to join our Friendsgiving table and talk about different foods that we're going to put on this beautiful table that we're setting up. So we're bringing back April and
Hi.
Tracy. Welcome back to the Easy Answer podcast.
Hello,
Thank
hello.
you.
Cool. So, you guys can pick, with as far as who's gonna go first. But tell us your favorite holiday dish.
Well, mine is my mom's dressing. My mom, which is like, people call stuffing. My mom's dressing. She makes a seafood dressing that has shrimp, oysters. It has like neck bones, smoked turkey neck bones in it. And I'm like, whoa. So I have to have her make me a separate one on the side that has nothing in it. And it just tastes like wet bread. And I would love to have something that can I would
Not
love
that
to have
bread.
something. It is, but I would love to have something that like could give me the flavors. I don't necessarily need the textures. You can find that in like the celery and the other vegetables that you throw in. But I would love to incorporate some of those seafood flavors or something like that, some umami or something in there, because it's a really good infusion in your dressing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's going to be fun when we start deconstructing that one. Okay, definitely gave a challenge there. And KB just went to get a plate, so we're gonna let her, we'll bring her back when she comes. And Rhonda, in the meantime, let us know what's one of your favorite holiday dishes.
Favorite holidays. I like turnips. I really, really like turnips. And in our house, my mom and I are the only one that like turnips. And so we only eat them, my mom and I eat them, turnips and cranberry sauce. And we only eat them on Thanksgiving, and it's just she and I that would eat them. So
How do you make it?
just boil it and mash it and then add some cinnamon and, well, now some vegan butter, a little bit of nutmeg in it, a little bit of cloves, just kind of make it a little savory.
Like a sweet potato casserole, kind of.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Now, and are you and your mom canned cranberry sauce people or fresh cranberry sauce people?
That matters.
I know, because I've had fresh cranberry sauce and it's amazing. But since it's just me and my mom, we defaulted to canned cranberry sauce.
But you can eat it for several days. So, why didn't you just get the other one? Does it not taste good the next day?
No, it does. It's just like of all the food that I was cooking, the thing about like the effort and the time to make fresh jelly cranberry sauce is like, for her and me, it just wasn't on the list. Didn't make the cut.
Got it.
My mom loves cranberry sauce.
From the can or the fresh?
Oh, canned.
Mine too. My mom won't eat fresh cranberry. It's the craziest.
No, see, my mom won't either.
I'm like telling people I won't eat. Like, if I'm gonna eat it, it needs to be gelatin from a can. But
yeah, it needs to have the bitters in it. That's how you know where to slice. Those are
Y'all crazy.
All right, KB, and what is your favorite dish? Holiday
Probably dish? Everybody's favorite dish, mac and cheese.
Yes.
Yes. The fresh. Wait, let's clarify. Fresh, homemade mac and cheese, not the box.
Yes.
Homemade with 5 cheeses, 4 cheeses, however many cheeses you want. Yeah. Put in the oven,
all
bake
the
it.
cheeses.
Yeah.
Question: when you make mac and cheese, are you a person that cooks your noodles halfway and then lets them finish cooking in the oven, or are you someone who cooks them all the way and then they get really mushy when you cook them?
Al dente. Then you let the milk and the cheese finish the rest in the oven.
Cool. Yeah. That's how I like mine too. I know
perfect mac and cheese,
mushy, which I think is very interesting.
I like it mushy.
I like mushy sometimes. Yeah, I'm a mushy mac and cheese girl sometimes. Sometimes I like it al dente, but I'm with you, Vaughn. I'll take my mushy mac and cheese to go. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm gonna start with the easiest and probably go to what we think is the most challenging as far as plant-basing. I guess we'll call it plant-basing the recipes.
It's a verb, plant-basing everything.
Yeah. So luckily, Rhonda's dishes naturally naturally plant-based. We didn't have to do anything with it, which number
Right.
one is a great way to open a conversation, because so often we think that, plant-based living is some foreign something that we just have to, we go on YouTube and people are making these over-the-top recipes and you think that this is what plant-based living is. But something as simple as turnips and cranberry sauce is plant-based out the gate. So if you are, if you're someone who already digs like turnips it's so interesting. Turnips is something that I don't think we've ever had at Thanksgiving dinner. But I love turnips. Like, I really love them. I was never
Wait, I have a question for the cranberry sauce. If I was going to make cranberry sauce from scratch, plant-based, I couldn't use gelatin. So what would I use to make it gelatinized?
agar,
Oh,
or
God,
agar, which is a little like, if it's like, it's a little harder to find, arrowroot would probably be the next
Oh,
starch.
yeah.
And then if you can't find that, cornstarch would probably be like
No, then it gets cloudy.
I think it's weird. I think it'll mess up the color. But
Yeah.
you still might get the same outcome. So that's
One
fine.
chef to another. See, they know all the components of food, right? And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about?
So yeah, if people are like, what the heck is any of this stuff? So agar is a flake. It's a seed flake, funny enough, that makes food gelatinous. Used a lot in vegan gummy bears, so to say, when you're trying to get that gummy gelatin taste without gelatin, which comes from pork. That's what you use. And then agar is a root, like a tuber vegetable that you dry it out, and it's very starchy, and it helps you to get your food some consistency. So just that. So, yeah. So
I'm inspired to make some homemade cranberry sauce just for
Don't
me
do
this
it,
year.
girl. It's a can, girl. It is not worth it.
Oh,
Now
man.
take a picture.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that would be great. I never make. I guess I make cranberry relish. I never make cranberry sauce. Like, I like it to just be
Yeah, like a chutney.
Yes, exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
So next is April's dish.
Yes. So you gave the. You compare it to soggy bread, which is,
There's nothing in it. It's so good. She makes these big pans. They're so sagey. But it's the oysters and whatever else in the shrimp that she puts in it, that smoked turkey neck.
Yeah.
Oh, how do I replace that?
So I would go, if I was going to do the smoked turkey neck replacement, smoking jackfruit is a way to go for that one. So if you take jackfruit, you marinate it with some liquid smoke, put it into the oven, right? So that it gets a little dry. You get that stringiness, you get that smokiness, so you get that turkey neck texture and flavor, right?
Okay.
I would
Randy.
I would also try with the oysters. I would play with freaking oyster mushrooms. I know it's not like a direct like flavor, so to say, but I think if you marinated it in a little bit of dulse, so if you took like dulse, so you get that kind of sea flavor. And I don't know what spices she uses for oysters, but I would probably just do like dulse, oyster mushrooms, right? And that would be like that texture, and cut them into little chunks. And then your shrimp, I would play around with burdock root. So burdock root has a very interesting texture of like a crawfish, and though it's not a shrimp, it's really close to a shrimp once you cook it. So that might be able to help you get that texture.
You could never stump this one. You could never stump her. Gotcha.
Dressing. So like having them really small, actually having the pieces really small, it would be better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
And does your mom do a is it a bread base, or is it a bread, or is it cornbread base? Like, what's
cornbread, girl?
Yes,
cornbread.
Oh,
but I've already plant based
right.
our cornbread recipe. It's ready to go.
Okay,
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's so good.
Rhonda had a question.
I'm looking up stuff as you're saying it, right? So what was the last ingredient that you said to replace the shrimp?
Burdock root.
burdock root.
Yes, and it's a little it's more accessible at say like an Asian grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of looks like yuca, like a thin version of yuca is probably how it shows up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it tastes texturally so much like a crawfish that I think that, you know, when we're talking about shrimp, it gives that like seafoody kind of like texture. So
I'm all in.
yeah,
Me too.
Last but not least,
all right.
Mac and cheese.
So my husband just found a pizza. I think it was Gardine. I'm gonna try and find out the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But he
please.
just had it. He got it in South Carolina. I haven't seen it in New York, but he was down there and he found it and he said it was amazing.
That's
Oh.
interesting. Gardine, because they now I know this is a little off topic from like from Thanksgiving, but they do make a really good they do good with the faux meats in the
Their
steak.
breakfast sausages. Ooh, those
Yeah,
leeks.
and that
Yes,
fishless
ma'am.
sandwich, that fishless. Well, I make it into a sandwich, but that fishless fish squares or whatever, those things are
Yeah.
delicious.
And they have little crab cakes too that are really. We should get them as a sponsor, y'all.
We
Their
should.
crab cakes are really, really good. Their crab cakes are really good too.
I haven't tried them.
I haven't either.
Oh, but that's a good appetizer for your tablescaping, for your your Thanksgiving tablescaping.
So as far as mac and cheese, like I say, like I'm really honest about where we are in the plant-based space when it comes to cheese. I will say we have come a long way. We have cheese that melts. We have cheese that does not have an aftertaste. We have cheese that people who eat dairy and still eat meat actually like, which is leaps and bounds. I had a friend, and the reason I'm sharing this story is a lead into mac and cheese. I had a friend in high school who was lactose intolerant, and this is when like soy cheese was the only option. And she would try to bring this baked mac and cheese to our like, you know, Friendsgiving meals with like just clumps of kind of soft cheese substance, bringing the noodles together and selling stuff. We were like, no,
it's like Stagpanier, but it's pasta.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, yeah, so we not lactose intolerant, so we gonna let you eat all of that, and we gonna just take you know, good mac and cheese and go. But now we actually have cheese that bakes. I'm big on making my own cheese though. Like I know that the people like the shreds from what is that? So Delicious. People like their shreds. There's some interesting people that like the shreds from Daya, and the reason I say interesting is because I'm not a fan of the Daya cheese. It melts, but it has a horrible aftertaste in my opinion. But you know, maybe the recipe's changed since I last tried it. But if you're gonna make mac and cheese, what I find the most helpful is a cashew based cheese, and you would make it in advance. And that cashew based cheese would have my recipe I use is cashew, garlic, like garlic powder, onion, shallot, white wine, some veggie broth, some nutritional yeast. Soak your cashews overnight or with hot water for like 2 or 3 hours. Throw them in a blender, let it all get smooth, and then if you want to add that color piece to it, I like to use what is that good stuff that I like to use? I like to use a roasted red pepper. The roasted red pepper gives you the color, but it also gives you that other layer of flavor. Because like cheese has it has salty, it has sweet, it has stank. Oh yeah, so if you want the stank, you got to put in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. That's how you get the stank note in there. And it kind of really like gives you like your cheese like a puzzle for this girl.
I'm like, yeah.
It gives it to you. And but what I like to do for like if I'm just making it for just like, oh, I'm just making it for the house, like I got a taste for it and I got a taste for it and I just want to make it, I'll just like use the creamy version or whatever. But when we're talking about holiday and you're talking about the presentation of it all, what I like to do is make that cheese sauce a day in advance, put it in the refrigerator. It kind of clumps together, like it gets cold and it kind of clumps together, which kind of gives you like that kind of faux melty cheese thing that happens when you bake mac and cheese. So then you go back and you kind of stir it in cold, right? so it kind of clumps. And then you have another like cheese sauce that you make that's creamier, and you mix that in, and then you bake it. Now this is this is me being real extra.
Yeah, that's intensive.
That is. Can't you just use the follow your heart Gouda cheese with some other cheddar?
So kinda. You can, but we're talking about
vegan. It's a vegan Gouda.
Yeah, you can, but I always find, at least for me, baked mac and cheese is about the sharpness of it all. Like I feel like I feel like a baked mac and cheese with just smoked Gouda doesn't give you like baked mac and cheese. Like I feel like, at least for me, it's the sharpness that makes it the mac and cheese. I love the Gouda.
So
say it again.
You might be right. I said, I'm not a foodologist, so you might be right. I know you like to, Randy, she likes to take a recipe apart and go through her taste buds and say, this is this and that. I don't do all that. You know,
that's why I love her.
I know, I love it. You know? It takes all kinds, all right?
So yeah, that would be my thing. And if you want to get real extra, like when I'm being real extra.
Oh, now we're getting extra. Got it. Okay.
I thought we were extra.
All right. No. Now
letting it get
we're heading into extra now.
So we settled on the extra.
But you want to get real extra, you make a whole separate type of cheese, right? So you like, I'm telling you about the cashew based cheese. Now, say for instance, you like, I don't know, you have somebody in the family with a nut allergy. You can make a potato based cheese. So the starch in the potato gives you that gooey kindness that we're looking for in cheese. You could do that with a carrot and an onion. Crazy, sounds crazy. Same bill. You still get your stank from your apple cider vinegar. You still get your nutritional yeast in there. You still put your onion powder, your garlic powder, right? And that gives you a different type of like creaminess that kind of goes through. So just how you have different, I feel like the best mac and cheese has always had like different types of cheese kind of in them. It gives you like a different type of cheese to kind of play around with. So it depends on how extra you want to get. On a regular day, I'm taking one cheese, creaming it together and putting it in the oven. But for the holidays, I feel like we could be a little special. We could be fancy. I also like to add some smoked paprika. So your what do you call it? Your smoked Gouda. I like that note to add into a mac and cheese too. So.
Wow.
Stevon, you plant-based.
Randy's skills on display, right?
So yeah, KB, do you feel like that's a what do you call it? A mac and cheese recipe that seems realistic?
It's definitely doable, but I need that in writing. So to be more official on my side.
Me too.
Shares. Thanksgiving.
Yes.
You've tasted that before, right? Haven't you tasted it before, Kit?
I've tasted it before. I don't know if it's the exact recipe, but it was considered like a cashew mac and cheese. So it was really good. Cool. I want to know how to make it myself, though. I can't buy it out all the time. Goodness.
Oh, and mac and cheese, I like using cavatappi instead of regular macaroni because it has ridges in it, especially for plant-based cheese, because it has ridges in it and it has an extra spiral, so it can really like grab the sauce, like the cheese sauce or the bechamel that you make. Even when you bake it, it's so good.
I love the two shots, the bechamel that you make. So on this note, we're going to wrap up this episode of our Friendsgiving, and we'd like to thank all of our guests, Ron James, April Joy, and KB for joining us. Thank you so much, ladies, and we'd love to have you all back because y'all are our core group of girls, okay?
The core.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks so much, guys. We hope this episode inspired you to, even if you're not going to have a plant-based Thanksgiving, that you will consider a plant-based adjacent one for you.
Plant-based adjacent.